Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I created a simple application for beginners. It's just called KnowCity App, and it's a very basic app, but it can teach you a lot if you're coming from HTML CSS and JS. So this is what the app does. You just click on an image, and on the right side you see a preview, and you can see an image, and it gives you the name of that city. So the image is an image of a city, and now you can see the name of the city, and we have a few details underneath the name. We have country, we have population, we have some good information about the city. So this is all coming from JavaScript. You can see when I click it on the right side, you can see it changes dynamically. So this is what JavaScript can do and how beautiful it can make your app become. So before we continue with this, I would like you to head over to my GitHub account, check the link down below, and I want you to head over to this green button called code, then click it, and you can see download zip. Click the download zip, and you're going to start downloading. Now, I want you to go to downloads on your Explorer, then you're going to see this folder, KnowCity app starter pack main.zip. Now I want you to extract, and then you're going to see the extracted folder, and then we can rename it, and I'm going to call it city app, as simple as that. Then I'm going to drag it over to desktop. So if we go back to our desktop, we're going to see our folder. Here it is. So right now I can just right click, show more options, then open with code. And now in our folder we have imgs folder, and we have an app.js file, and the app.js file just has an object or an array of objects, the city objects, and that's what we're going to need to start our application. So let's jump in. So I believe you've gotten the files from my GitHub account. So on your desktop you should have this city app, and I'm going to click on it, then right click, then show more options. If you're on Windows 11, then open with code. If you're not on Windows 11, I believe Windows 10 should just have not show more options, but should have open with code without clicking on show more options. So on that folder we have a file called app.js, and inside it we have an array of cities, and the cities we have objects inside the array. So we have a name, a country, an IMG, population, area, description, and landmarks, but for now we don't need it. We also have an IMGs folder, so it has images that we're going to be using, and you can see these images look good. So as we've seen, the idea is to click on an image and get its details. So we're going to close this also for now. Now the file we're interested in is called index.html. Then I'll press enter. Then I'm going to close my Explorer. I'm going to type HTML, then colon, then press enter. As simple as that, and we have this boilerplate. Then I'm going to change the title tag, and I'm going to say KnowCity App. So I don't know why I called it KnowCity App, but it's cool. Then I'm going to open my website using live server. So you can see open with live server. If you don't have live server, just head over to the extensions tab and then search up here live server. Once you search it like that, you're going to see this extension. It's been created by Retweak Day, and it has 69,873,577 downloads. Click on download, and if you're asked to refresh Visual Studio, just press refresh or close it, then reopen it. So I'm going to open my website with live server, and you can see it has been opened, and you can see whatever is in the title tag is being echoed up here. You can see KnowCity App. So that's what happens when we put content inside the title tag. So let's begin. I'm first going to create a main tag, not a main tag, main section. And inside the main section, I'm going to have two divs with the class of container. So in short, I can just say dot container, and then I could say star then 2. So I'm going to say 2 containers times 2, and it's going to create two divs for me with the same class. And on the first container, I'm going to add another class, imgs dash container. So I'm doing that so that I can target it only when I'm trying to style it. I just want to target it specifically. And inside it, I'm going to have an h1 tag, and I'm going to say no city and then app. So this is the main text. So h1 no city app, that's the main, let's say the name of the app. And underneath the h1, we're going to have a paragraph tag, and we're going to say click on an image to see its details, like that. And underneath it, we're going to have another div with a class of images dash container. So all the images will be in this div, and we're going to be clicking on those images. So I'm going to say dot images dash container. Once we have the images container, we can leave it like that, and then we can move to the next div, the div that we have underneath the first div. So I don't know if I should zoom in a little bit, like that. And I'm going to open my div. I'm going to give it another class. I'm going to say details dash container. So this is the div that is going to have the details, like the image and then the name, the country, and all those things. So first, we're going to have an image on top. The browser runs our file from top to bottom. So if we want our image to appear first, we have to put its tag first. So we're going to put our image tag first, and we don't need the src for now because we'll be using JavaScript to feed all the images. So if we look at our image right now, we don't see much. We just see the h1 and the p tag, but we have other elements on the website, but we can't see them because they have nothing to show for now. Underneath the image tag, we're going to create another div with dot city dash details class. This div is going to have the name, which will be an h2, so we could just say name. And then underneath it, we're going to have an horizontal rule. So we're going to say HR, then press enter. So if we come back, we see name, then we see this straight line that stretches from one end to the other. After that, we're going to have an h3. So we're going to say h3, and we're going to say country. This is going to have the city country. So the city is in which country, so we could just say country. And one thing I forgot to put on the h2 is to give it a class. So I'm going to give it a class of city dash name. So I'm going to say city dash name, and also we can give the image a class. So we could say city dash, let's say underscore image. And then we can also give the h3 a class. So we could say class city dash country, like that. So we're giving them classes so that it can be easy to target them with JavaScript. So again, we can create a paragraph tag. Since it's a paragraph tag, we're going to say first p, then dot. So we're saying we're going to create a tag, a p tag with a class of dot city dash population, and then press enter, and I'm going to say population, like that. And then we can continue. Underneath the population tag, p tag, we're going to have another p with the class of city dash description, but I'll just say desk. And then we can say description, I'm sorry. And then next, we can move on to city landmarks. So I'm going to create another p with the class of city dash landmarks. Then I could just say landmarks, like that. And then we can have the area. For this, we're going to use small tag. Then we're going to give it a dot of city dash area, like that, and we can say area. As simple as that. And with that, we've finished working on our HTML. So we're going to move on to CSS, but first we need to link our app.js. So script, and then the src, which stands for source. Src is going to be app.js. So we are including our JS file on our HTML. For us to use a CSS file, we need to create it. So I'm going to say style.css, simple as that. And to link it, if your app is called style.css, you can just type link, then colon, then CSS, and you can see it autofills it for us. If your style is not called style.css, you are going to have to rename it here, and then you can continue with us. First, I'm going to start with the resets. So let me be professional and use comments so that it's easy for someone to read it. Then you can say resets, comma. Then we use the star sign and then open curly brackets. Then you can say margin 0, and then padding we can also use 0, and then box dash sizing you can say border box, and then we could use font dash family of, we could just say Poppins, and then comma. If Poppins doesn't work, we can use sans serif. Okay, if we look at our image right now, we can notice that there are no paddings inside our website because we are using the reset. So this is actually useful, so we can actually just declare everything that we want. We don't work with anything that is default. So I'm going to give it a comment. I'm going to create a body comment. So I'm going to say body, like that. So I'm going to say body, open curly brackets, then say height equals to 100 VH, and I'm going to say width equals to 100%. I'm going to give it a background color of, I'm not going to say background color, I'm going to say background, then radial, gradient, and I'm going to say circle at top left, and then comma, and then I'm going to say hashtag 0f1620, comma, and then hashtag 06080, and then A. And now if we come back to a background, we see we have this cool background color. So let's work on the color next, our text color, because right now it's hard to see them. So we can just say color, and then we could say hashtag FFF, and that is color white. So if we come back, we see we have white color. We can say display flex. So I'm going to say df flex, and then JCC, justify content center, and then AIC, align item center, and then I'm going to say overflow, and then I'll say hidden. We don't want any overflow. So you can see now everything is in the middle. So all the divs are in the middle, stacked vertically, but we're going to work on that so that they can be stacked horizontally. We're going to style the main next. So I'm going to copy my comment. So I'm going to copy main, copy, and then I'll just come down here and paste it, and I'm going to call it main, like that. So let's say main, and then open curly brackets, then I'm going to say df flex, and then I'll say jcc, justify content center, and we want AIC. We're going to use stretch, not center, so we can give it a gap of 1.5 rem, and we can say width 90%, and we can give it a max width of let's say 1200 pixels, and then a height of 90 viewport height. So VH stands for viewport height. So you can see right now we're using display flex on our main section, and everything has been aligned horizontally. So we have one div on this side and another div on the other side. Let's style the imgs dash container. We have this container, that imgs dash container class. So that's what we're going to work on next. So I'll just paste my comment again, and I'm going to say, let's call it image section, like that. So we continue. I'm going to say .imgs dash container, and then open curly brackets. Then I'm going to say flex, and then say 1, and I'm going to give it a background of hashtag FFFFF0D, and then I'm going to say backdrop. I want filter, backdrop filter, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm saying background, backdrop filter. I want it to blur, so I'm going to have 20 pixels, px, and then next we are going to have border dash radius, and we're going to say, let's give it 18 pixels, and then next we're going to have let's say border, and we're going to say 1 pixel solid RGBA, and then 255 comma 255 comma 255 comma, and then 0.1, and then sorry, I should close this, and then I'm going to say df, and then I'm going to say flex dash direction. I'm going to give it column, and then I'm going to say padding 1.5 rem, and then I'm going to give it a transition, and then I'll say all 0.5 seconds is overflow. I'm going to say hidden. So if we come back to our page, we see we have this container, this div, and we've given it a flex of 1, so it's pushing everything else on the left, on its right, I'm sorry. But if we work on the other div, we're going to see they're going to be aligned correctly. So let's continue. I'm going to say, to style the h1, so we have inside this imgs container, we have this h1, the title. So that's what we're going to style next. So I can say .imgs container and then h1. So the idea is, I'm saying I have a container with a class of imgs dash container, and inside it I have an h1, and that's what I want to target. So we're going to give it a color of hashtag 00FFC, then 6. And then font size, I'm going to give it 1.8 rem. And next I'm going to give it a margin bottom of 0.5 rem. And then next I'm going to say text dash align. So let me show you first. Right now you see the color has changed and it looks nice, but this is where we have the text and we want it in the middle. So what we're going to say is text align center. So text dash align center. So if we look at it right now, our h1 is in the middle, and that looks so professional. Next we have a p tag underneath the h1. So we're going to say .imgs container and then p. So we're saying we're targeting the p. So we have color, and we can just say hashtag bbb, and then we could say text dash align, and then also you can give it center. And next you can say fz, let's say 0.9 rem, and then next you can give it margin bottom of 1 rem. You see, it looks good also, and it has a margin bottom. So for now, I know you can't see the margin bottom, but eventually you will. So let's paste again we're going to paste our comment, and we're going to say scrollable images. So scrollable, we're going to say images, simple as that. We're going to say .imgs container, not .imgs container, I'm sorry. We're going to say .images container. So we have this div down here underneath the p tag that's going to contain all the images. So I'm going to say .images dash container, then open curly brackets, and we're going to say flex also. We're going to say 1, and we're going to say overflow y. I'm going to say auto, because we're using auto because we're going to give it a max width. So we won't want it to scroll outside its parent container. to overflow. So you're going to say display grid. I'll just type DG and I'm going to say grid dash template dash columns. And then I'm going to say repeat autofill auto dash fill comma min max, and then open curly brackets, open brackets, not curly brackets, and then I'm going to say 140 and 40px, then comma, and then 1 fr, and then we're going to give it a gap is going to be 1 rem, and then next we're going to give it a padding dash right, and we're going to say 0.5 rem, and then we're going to say scroll bar width, and we're going to say thin, and then we're going to target the scroll bar color, and we're going to say hashtag 00ffc6 comma RGBA, and then we're going to say 255 comma 0.5, and then next let's work on the image card. So inside this container, we're going to have a div with the class of image card. We're going to create it with using JavaScript. So right now, if we look at our app, we still see nothing because we don't have any images yet. So let's target the image card. So I'll paste in my comment, and then I'm going to change the name. I'm going to say image and then card. And then I'm going to come down here, and then I'm going to target the dot image. We're going to generate this with JavaScript, even the class itself, so don't worry. So we're going to say position relative. We want it to be relative because we're going to have inside the image card, we're going to have I think an h2 with the name of the city, and then we're going to have border dash radius. We're going to say 12 pixels, and then next we're going to have overflow, then we're going to have hidden, and then we're going to say cursor, which should be pointer, and next we're going to give it a transition, and we're going to say transform, and we'll say 0.5 seconds is, and then comma, and then we're going to say box dash shadow, and we're going to say 0.3 seconds is. So we're targeting 2 animations, and we can say dot image img. So inside that container, the image div, we're going to have an image, the actual image that we will be clicking. So we can give it a width of 100%. I'm sorry, I did a mistake there. So a width of 100%, and we can give it a height of 120 pixels. So height 120 px, and object fit, we can say curve. I'm sorry about the noise, that is the neighbor's child. So you could say transition, we could say transform, and then 0.3 seconds is. After that, we can work on the image hover state. So we could say dot image, and then we could say colon, then hover, and then img, and we want it to scale up. So we could say transform, and then you could say scale 1.08. Then I'm going to close this, and then we can say dot image hover. Now the div itself, so you can say dot image colon hover, and we can have box dash let me open it, box dash shadow, and we can have 15 pixels, and then you can say RGBA, and we can say 0,255, 198, and then 0.4. So next we can work on the H2. The H2 that I told you is going to be the name of the city. So let's work on the H2. So let's say dot image H2, and then open the curly brackets. Then we're going to say position absolute, and then bottom, we're going to say bottom, we're going to say 8 pixels, and then we're going to say left, we're going to say 10 pixels, and then FZ, we're going to say 1 rem. Then text shadow, we're going to give it a text shadow. text dash shadow, and we're going to say 008 pixels RGBA, and then 0, 0, 0, 0.8, like that. Next, we're going to style our details section. So I will paste my comment again and say details section, like that. I know you know the detail section is this the other div we had. So we have this other div here, details section. So let's work on that next. So I will say dot details dash container, and then I'm going to say flex1 also, flex, and then give it 1, and I'm going to say background. I'm going to say hashtag. We're going just to use let's say hashtag F, and then 12. And then next we're going to work on backdrop filter, and I'm going to say blur also, and I'll give it 12 pixels. And after that we can say border, and you can say 1 pixel solid, and you can say RGBA 255, 255, 255, it's outside the parenthesis. So let's close this with a semicolon, then move down here and say 255, 255, 255, and then 0.1, and then we can give it a border radius. So I don't know if you know about the border radius, but you can see right now this border radius is somehow smooth, but we just have some sharp radius on the other div. So that's what we're trying to deal with right now. So we can say border dash radius. It's not auto-completing because we haven't closed this. So we're going to say border dash radius, and we're going to give it 18 pixels. So right now, if we come back to our site and look at our border, you see it looks good. So let's continue. We're going to give it a padding of 1.5 rem, and we're going to say display flex, and then flex direction, we're going to say column. So we want everything to be stacked horizontally, not horizontally, but vertically. And then you can say justify content, you can say flex start. If you guys want me to work on a full HTML and CSS course, just comment down below and I'll work on it. So overflow, we're going to say hidden. And then next we're going to say transition. You can say all, and then 0.3 seconds, and then ease. If we look at our site, we see some padding has been added inside. And before I told you that this was pushing everything on its okay, to it it's right, but to us to it I don't know if it is on its right or left. So you can see right now they're both having flex 1, so they're sharing enough space. Let's continue. After that, we can continue to the hover state. So we can say dot details contain, and then colon, and then hover, and we can say box shadow. So we want when someone hovers on it to have a box shadow 0.25 pixels, and then we can have an RGBA. Let's say RGBA, and then we can say 0.255, 198, and then 0.3. So let's look at it. When we hover on it right now, you see there's this beautiful box shadow that we can see. So next we're going to work on our image preview. So I'll just paste in here my comment again, and I'm going to say image and then preview. So the idea is on the first container, we're going to have a bunch of images, and every time we click on an image, we want it to show on this div on the other side, and it's going to show up here. Then the details are going to be underneath it. So that's what we want to style right now, this image preview. So we can say dot city underscore image, and then we can say width, we're going to give it 100%, and then we can say a height of 450 pixels, and then we can give it an object fit of cover so that it looks good, it doesn't look so stretched. And we can give it a border radius, we can give it a border dash radius of 15 pixels, and then next we can give it a margin bottom of 1 rem. And then next we can work on the text details, so all the information that we're going to have. So I'm going to say Control V, and then I'm going to paste my comment again, and I'm going to say text details. So I'm going to say .city dash details. So if we come back to our HTML file, you can see we have this div that has city details, the H2, all the H3, the P tags, all of them. So we're going to work on that div. So I'm going to say flex1, not flex direction, but flex1. And then I'm going to say overflow y. I'm going to give it auto. And I'm going to say padding dash right. And I'm going to say 0.5 rem. And then next I'm going to target the scroll bar width. And I'm going to give it thin because most likely we're going to have a scroll bar. Next I'm going to target the scroll bar color. And I'm going to say hashtag 00FF, and then I'll say C6. It looks nice. Then next we're going to work on margin dash top. So we want it to push the image on top of it a little bit up. So we're going to say margin top, and then we're going to give it 20 pixels. Close it, and then let's work on the scroll bar now. So we can say .city dash details, and then colon, and then hyphen, and then web kit dash scroll bar, and then dash thumb, and then open curly brackets. First on top here we're going to do something. Let's say .city dash details, and then colon, and then dash web kit dash scroll bar, and then open the curly brackets. And then I'm going to say width, I'm going to give it 6 pixels. I'm sorry, it should have been down here. So width 6 pixels, like that. Yes, and also I'm going to bring this back, so no spacing. And then let's work on the other one, and we're going to say background, not background color, background. And then we're going to just give the color we've been using, this one. And then after that we're going to say border radius, border dash radius, and we're going to say 10 pixels. And then next we're going to style our H2. So that's going to be the name, the city. So .city, and then dash details, and then H2. We're going to give it the color that we've just been using, color, hashtag 00, this one. And then close it, and then say margin bottom, and we're going to say 0.3 rem. And then next we're going to say border, we're going to have none, and I'm going to give it no, we don't need a border here. I think I made a mistake. So after margin we should have a font size. I think font size, let's say 40 pixels, and then text align, text dash align, we're going to say center. So if we look at it right now, we don't see anything yet, and I'm going to tell you why later. So next we're going to have an HR. So we're going to say .city dash details, and then HR. You remember the horizontal rule, so we're going to say height 2 pixels, and then next we're going to say border, we're going to say none, and we're going to give it a background, and we're going to say linear gradient, and we're going to say 90 DEG, so 90 degrees, and then we're going to use the color we've been using, this one, and then comma, and then hashtag 00, and then 77FF, like that. And then next we can say border dash radius, border radius, you can say 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and then after that we can say margin bottom, we could say 1 rem. Great. Let's continue with the h3. You can say .ct dash details h3, open curly brackets, then just say color hashtag FFF, and then next you can say MB 0.4 rem, close it, and now we are on the p tag and the small. So you're going to say ct dash details, and then p, then we want to also target the small, so ct dash details and then small, and we can say color, we just say hashtag ccc, and then we could say line dash height, we could say 1.5, mark you are not adding rem or px, so you can say margin dash bottom, we could just say 0.6 rem, and that's it. So next we can start working on our JavaScript file and see how our app is going to look. So let's open our JavaScript file. So we are on our JavaScript file. Here we have our objects, an array of objects. So first thing we're going to do is to grab our images container. So I'm going to say let images dash, not dash, this is JavaScript, so you can just say container, and then we can say equals document dot query selector, and then I'm going to say to give it the selector, which is images dash container. And then what we can do is we can create a variable. We can say let HTML equals, and then empty string, and we're going to see shortly what that variable is going to do. So we can say cities, so we want to loop the cities array. We have this array up here, which is cities. That's what we're trying to loop over, and we're going to use a for each loop. So we can say city.forEach, and we can say city, give it a variable of city, and then I'm going to use an arrow function, and I'm going to say HTML plus equal, and then I'm going to use the backticks because I want to use some HTML inside it, and I'm going to open the backticks. So after opening the backticks, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say div, and then class equal image. You remember that div that we were styling that we didn't have? This is it now. So inside the styling, you can say img, and we can say src equals, first let's close the div so that some people don't get confused. So we're going to say div like that, and then close it. So inside this div, we're going to have an image tag. So I'm going to say img, and then I'll just say src equals and leave it blank for now, and then close it. I'm going to close it. Then next we can have an h2, also the h2 that we were styling, which is going to have the name of our city. So I'm going to say h2 and then close it also like that. So what we want to do, we want to loop over the objects, and every object we want to get the name and the image. So we display the name and the image. So what we can do is we can just use a $, and then use curly brackets and say city.name, not name, I'm sorry, city.img. We want the image first, then the name, so city.img, and then next we want city.name, so $, open curly brackets, and then say city.name, name. Right now we can use name. So if we come back to our site, we still see nothing, and I'm going to look at it shortly. That's because we haven't put we haven't appended our HTML to our images container. So next what we're going to do is say images container dot inner HTML then equals HTML, like that. So if we come back to our website, we see we have images with names. So you can see Dubai, London, New York, and everything looks good. So let's continue. Right now we want to continue and style it so that when we click on an image, we want to see the image here and then the details underneath the image. So let's continue. So we are going to select all the images. So we're going to say let images equals to document dot query selector, and then now we have more than one image, so we're going to say all so that we can loop over them, and we're going to say dot image. So you remember we created this div with a class of image. We are selecting all of them and looping over them. I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to say images dot for each, like that, and then I'm going to get the image, every image, and I want its index, and I'm going to use curly brackets, and then I'm going to use an arrow function, and I'm going to open the curly brackets, and then next I'm going to give every image container a click event. So I'm going to say image dot add event, then listener, like that. Yes, I think it's fine. Then I'm going to open parentheses, and I'm going to give it an event of click, and then I'm going to use the arrow function as usual, and then open curly brackets. So I'll be selecting the element I want and then changing the content inside it. So I'm going to say document dot query selector, open curly brackets, and then I'm going to select dot city underscore image. So here is the city dot underscore image, this image that we didn't give it any source or any image. This is what we want. So when we click on an image here, we want this image up here to be given a source and display the image. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to say dot src, we're going to give it a source, and we're going to say it's going to be cities. So cities array, and then we're going to say index. So we're getting the index right here. So once we get the index, we know this is maybe the first image or the second image, and it's going to link to our array and look at cities index. So cities object of that index, and then we're going to say dot img. So let's look at it right now. So if we click right now, we see nothing, and we're going to look at it shortly. So let me look at where the problem could be. I think the problem is with document.query selector, I use capital D instead of small d. So if we close our app right now, so if we click on an image, you can see that image right here. So if we click another one, we see the image is changing dynamically, and that is so good. It makes our app look very nice. So let's continue. After give it an image, so we want also to change the name. So we're going to say document dot query selector, and we're going to say dot city dash name. You remember that h2 that we named city dash name dot inner HTML equals to, I'm going to say cities, and then say index, and then I'm going to say dot name, as simple as that. So right now, if we click right here, we can't see anything because I think the size of the image, but we're going to work on it shortly so that we can see what we want to see. And then next, you know what? In fact, let's just work on it right now. So the other div, the div with the image preview, let's give it a height of, let's say 250 pixels, and come back and we can see our name. So if we click on image, you see Paris, and we see the name right here. So let's continue. Let's go back to JavaScript, and let's say document dot query document dot query selector. What's happening? Query selector, and we can say dot city dash country, and we can say dot in HTML equals, and I'm going to use the backticks again, and I'm going to say dollar, not dollar. First I'm going to say country, and then I'll say colon, and then I'm going to say dollar, and then I'm going to say cities, and then index, and then I'm going to say dot country. So I'll say dot country like that. Then I'll just press Alt Z so that it can wrap over to the next line. So right now, if we click on an image, you see New York, and you see the country has been updated. It says USA. So we can continue again. I'm going to say document dot query selector, and we can say city population, but city dash population, and we're going to say dot inner HTML, you can say equals, and we're going to use the backticks again and say population, and then we can use the dollar sign, and then you can say dot cities, and then index, and then dot population. You can use the dot population property. So if I click on New York, you see population 8.8 million, Cape Town 4.4, and then Australia 5.3. You see it's updating dynamically, which is so good. So let's continue. Let's get to description. So you can say document. Now I'm tired of typing, so I'm just going to copy this down. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say city dash desk. I think we named it desk, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to use the backticks right now. I can leave it the way they are, but I don't think I'm going to type description. So I'm going to say cities index, and then dot, and I'll say description. So again, we check it to enjoy ourselves. So we say country Japan, population 14 million. Then we have this description. We also have Cape Town. We can look here, and we also have, let's check Nairobi, the green city in the sun, a mix of urban energy and natural beauty. Sure. Okay, let's copy this down again. Landmarks. So we can say city dash landmarks like that, and then we can just say city dot landmarks. So landmarks like that. So we can, if we click on an image, we can see we have Statue of Liberty, and we also have Times Square and Central Park. So we can put this in an array so that it looks good, so that someone can know there are multiple, and we can also put an array before the closing backtick. So you can see we have this inside an array, and it looks really nice. So let's work on area next. Let's just copy this down below, and I just say city dash, and then I'll say area, and then I'm going to change this to dot area like that, and then I'm going to say area, then as simple as that. Then if I click on it right now, you can see area equals to 793 kilometers squared. You see how good our app looks right now? We brought it to life from just an idea, and we have an app that looks good. So let's change in the landmarks. Let's just add this text that says landmarks, so that someone can know these are landmarks. You can see. So right now we have Burj Khalifa, Palm Jumeirah, Dubai Mall, and those look so good. So let's work on responsiveness, and then we'll end our video at that. So I'm going to say we're going to have a comment. First, let's copy a comment up here, text dash details. Then I'm going to copy it down here. Then I'll just paste, and then we can say responsive, as simple as that. Then next, what we can do is you can say at media, and then I could say max dash width, and then we can say 768 pixels, and then open curly brackets, and I want the main, and I can say flex direction. I'm going to say column, and then next what I can do is give it a height of 100 VH, and then overflow, I'm going to say hidden. And after that, I'm going to target the dot container. I'm going to say dot imgs dash container, open curly brackets, and then say height going to be 45 VH. And then after that, we're going to target the dot details dash container, open curly brackets, and then I'm going to say height should be 50 VH, 50 viewport height. And that's it for this tutorial. We have a beautiful working app that is responsive, looks good, and very soon I'll be dropping a full HTML and CSS course, and also I'm working on a JavaScript course right now. So be sure to leave a like, a comment, and also subscribe and enable the notification bell icon so that when I drop it, you'll be the first one to get it. I am Sparks from Sparks Code System. I've enjoyed this course, I've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you have as much as I have enjoyed it. See you in the next one.